Hi there, Vibe Gardeners. Welcome to this episode of Vibe Gardening Informal Edition, where we're going to be finishing our Hydroponics 101 series with episode 7, which is how to start your own herb garden in that DIY hydroponic system that you just built. With that said, let's go. All right, so as I've mentioned before, this is a continuation of the Hydroponics 101 series, which we'll be finishing off by using our hydroponic system here that we built from a 6 liter container. And what we've done here was actually I filled it with water. Past couple days, so you can see the water level is pretty high. And I'll show close up in a minute here. But I also actually added a CalMag to it last night to give it about close to 24 hours of stabilization with the CalMag to stabilize things. Now, to kind of level set a little bit, every meter is a little different in reading. So the meter I'll be using, I'll show you in a minute, read 26 ppm of RO water coming in, whereas downstairs it read 18. Now that's going to be something that maybe this thing needs calibration. I'm not 100% sure, but we're basically going to go in and assume that we've done everything to this point of building this, and then you also done a reset on the system, or in this case, basically it's starting up fresh, which is the end of episode 5 with the DWC reset, and it's episode 4. Either way, you've watched to this point, you know that there is going to be a reset here, and the water here is essentially at that point. So let's go in for a little closer look. So for a little closer look on what's going on here, we're going to be using this hydroponic meter here. It's going to be able to help us see what's going on here. If we turn it on, we're on ppm setting here, and we're currently reading about 125 ppm. So considering we started at 126, it's approximately exactly about 98 to 100 ppm of CalMag drifting a little bit, as you can see. And that's kind of expected. So the first thing we're going to do is also we're going to actually here. Let me change the mode here, and we're going to measure the pH. The pH is actually measuring about 6.7 already. And honestly, I don't know if we need to change the pH that much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the General Hydroponics pH down, and we're going to add some of that pH down to it. So I have a refill bottle I'm using here for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it about a 1/4 milliliter of pH down. I'm going to give it a nice little swirl. As you can see, there's no air pump yet, and there's no water pump. Actually, I will not be adding a water pump to this system as it's so small. I don't think it needs a water pump, but I'll be adding that air pump in a minute to show you guys how I put this together. So now that we have the pH down, a 1/4 milliliter, still dropping a little bit. Actually dropping a lot. It's getting down to 5 now, and that is very low. Okay. It's, well, it kind of just went right down to a little under 5. So with that, we're going to have to add pH up to try to change that. So now we have pH up. As you can see, this is another brand of pH adjuster. That's the first one I've used, and it is significantly weaker than General Hydroponics, and that's why I had to go to General Hydroponics for the pH down, because it just was not doing enough. So this pH up is significantly weaker. So I'm guessing I need about a whole milliliter of this to counteract some of the 1/4 milliliter. And I'm not even sure it's even going to do all that much because it is not a very strong chemical. And because they didn't even advertise what kind of chemical it is, and that's usually is a troubling sign. So hopefully that's going to show you guys the danger of using a no-name brand of products, and that's why I highly recommend something like General Hydroponics. All right, now let's test the pH again. So right now we're hovering about 5.3. That is after a whole entire milliliter. And that's how weak these things are. And like I said, this is why you want to use the real stuff with General Hydroponics. So we're going to give it another milliliter of this thing, completely underpowered, pH up. We've got about a milliliter again. Hopefully this is going to get about 5.5, because honestly I think it's going to still drift a little bit when the time comes. So 5.5 should give us enough room for it to drift back up. Yeah, so it's drifting right about 5.5, still going up a little bit. About 5.6. It should be stabilizing above 6. I mean, below 6. Maybe even below 5.7. But either way, I think we're in a very good spot. I'm not going to bore you with waiting for the number to stop going up. But I think we're at a good spot now. And like I said, I'm going to have to check the pH as the time goes on and adjust it accordingly to what's happening in the system. But I think now the solution is pretty much ready for what we're going to give it. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to install this air pump. As you can see, I already installed the air hose over here. So we're going to put it over, install our air store on it, and perfect fit. We can just have it angled a little bit. As you can see, it is not exactly watertight. Water coming through it. And that's totally fine. And we're going to install the actual pump on the other side. And there we have it. Aeration is now complete. This tank is fully getting enough oxygenation coming from it. So now we can go to the next step and start getting the plants in there. And now for the planting, as we can see here, I have pre-soaked these hydroponic sponges for use. And I have myself here a sponge basket for holding one of these. I'm going to just drop one right in here. And as you can see right on the top here, this one has a hole on top. And what we're going to do is we can just drop a seed right in here. I'm going to pick this one here for our planting. So the first seed that we're going to plant is going to be the basil that I collected from the backyard. And as you will see in a minute here, basil is a very small seed. And we can do here is we can pick up one of these. See how small this is right here? You can pick up these here with the tweezer and just drop it right in here. And there is all that is to just starting a seed right there. So the next step we're going to do here is we're going to cover up this hole with a grow sponge basket. Well, they call it a grow sponge label, hydroponic label, but really it helps cover the hole here to keep the root from getting more light. And then humidity dome to make sure the humidity is going to be enough to get going here. So the next thing I'll show you what I've done here was I've taken this grow light here. It's 30-watt grow light. What I did was I took a picture hanger wire and I looped it in here. And then I took this hanging wire here and put an S hook in between. So now I can adjust the height to whatever I want. And this is going to be able to let me hook it to my plant shelf by the west-facing window here. So let me plug it in, and I'll show you how I'm going to adjust the height to the appropriate height. So now that this grow light is plugged in, what I can do is I can adjust it to the right height by removing this S-hook and lower it to where I want to, and I think I can take the whole length of it now. And I think it needs to be about approximately this high from the top. And that was a blooper reel right there, guys. Okay, that's one side of it. And now for the other, after all the calamity. And that is about all the drop I can give it due to the length of the power cord. And here's the final setup of the lighting here. I think this is going to do quite well because this light here is also supplementing outdoor lighting. As you can see, this is my metal raised bed out there. And so I think it's going to get enough light to be able to go. Basil is also a light germinated plant, so it needs a little bit more light to be able to germinate. And I think this is going to be a good setup for it for right now. All right, guys, now we're going to talk about how we have to prepare the parsley and cilantro seeds before we plant them. And this is crucial because these two seeds, unlike basil, will need preparation. Both of them will, once prepared, will have to soak for about a couple hours before we can plant them because the shells need hydration before we can put it into the medium, either a grow sponge or soil, to be grown. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually, for the parsley, it's an easier one. What you can do is you can actually get yourself the parsley seeds. And see here, I grab myself a few parsley seeds. I think that's one or two. That's one seed. And drop in the water. And then I'm going to actually have two of them come out. They're so small. Okay, they're all dropping off my hand. So I'm going to get another one here. And then I'm going to put in here. And we'll let that soak for about 2 hours. 2 to 4 hours. Now with the cilantro seed, it's much harder. First thing we need to do is we need to take up one of these seeds. Taking up seeds is hard. As you can see here, I got myself one of these cilantro seeds. And it's a significantly larger because actually, in fact, there's at least 2 seeds in here. What we're going to do, we're going to take one and we're going to take it in our fingers here and just give it a little snap. And here you can see in my hand, it's going to be hard to show because they're so small. You can see here, it actually came apart in 2 pieces. Each one approximately has 1 seed in the shell. And if we don't do this, we're going to have to soak it in hydrogen peroxide, which is going to be another pain of its own. So once we take the remaining shell off, my thumb here, and carefully pull back the shell. But this is definitely where having a metal tweezer is going to be superior to having a plastic tweezer. You can see now we have the seed out now. So this seed, if we soak that for 4 hours, we should be able to get the same level of hydration as a parsley. And I'll do that to the other one, and that's how you prepare parsley and cilantro seed for planting. All right, guys, so that's our episode here, where I was able to show you guys how to put everything together with the Hydroponics 101 series with our own home-built DIY hydroponic system. And then we're able to start planting seeds in here. I showed you guys the basics of soaking seeds to be able to plant them. So you'll be able to plant basil, parsley, and cilantro in here. And I will have a short showing you guys once this thing gets filled. And that should get you guys started on your own hydroponic herb garden. And then following all the information I've given, hopefully that will give you guys what you need to go on and keep your gardening. And until next time, keep doing that and keep vibing. Let's go.